Hello all you lovely people, and I hope you're all doing great, safe, and you're in the pink of your health. Now, welcome to another video of mine, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the Xbox Series S. There's some of the things that I like about the Xbox Series S, and some of the things are meh. That means I don't like it so much. So if you have been following my channel, then you know that I got myself an Xbox Series S. I have been playing on it for the last few days. I've tried out a few games. I've tinkered around with these settings, and I've also tried to check whether it can actually do the 120 FPS that it claims that it can do. In fact, it's advertised on the box that it can do 120 FPS. So today's video is going to be all of that. We're going to try out a few games and see how it actually performs, and also, like I said, see what I like and don't like about the Xbox Series S. So let's get started, folks. One of the first things that I do like about the Xbox Series S is the fact that it is so compact, and the design of the Xbox Series S is simply fantastic. If you take a look at the design, then it is so slim. I mean, so sleek. That's my phone, and that's the Xbox Series S, if you really want to take a look at the size of it. So that's my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and that is the Xbox Series S. So in terms of the form factor, I really like the form factor, and I think it can neatly be tucked away in any corner of a shelf, or if you've got it sitting on a table as well, then it's not a problem at all. So the design is definitely something that I personally love, but hey, design is definitely subjective, so I may like this, whereas some people may not like it. So again, I'm saying it's subjective, but I personally, for one, definitely love the design of the Xbox Series S. It's probably one of the reasons as to why I really went for it, because my table otherwise is not able to accommodate a lot of things. If you compare the size right next to my PS4 Pro as well, I mean, just look at that thing. It's half in terms of the width. I've spoken about this in my previous video as well. I will say this again, that this particular machine, she's a beauty. I mean, in terms of the form factor, she is an absolute beauty. Now, the second thing that I like about the Xbox Series S is the fact that straight out of the box, if you want to connect a hard drive, now it could be any hard drive. It could be, one of these old mechanical hard drives, or even if you want to connect an SSD. So if you want to connect, one of these smaller SSDs from Samsung, you can do that as well. And you can store games on those SSDs or on this hard disk drive as well. And that's straight out of the box. You don't need to do anything. Just plug in the USB into any of the USB drives here, and you're ready to store any of the games. Now, however, it comes with one downside, and that downside is the fact that when you do store games on this hard disk drive, the games that have been optimized for the Series S or X, that will not work off of the hard disk drive. I believe you will still have to move them over to your main storage, your internal storage that is, and then you will have to play them. So optimized games for the Series S and X have to be moved over the internal storage. Speaking of which, I really appreciate the fact that it comes with an SSD, and it advertises that it comes with a 512 GB SSD, but the truth is that not all of 512 GB is actually usable. The usable GB, it's around the 360 to 380 mark, I believe. I'm going to show it to you on the screen as well. But that's not a lot considering, the games today, they are so big. I mean, each game is around 100 GB, 80 GB, etc, etc. So all you'd be able to store in your internal storage is just a handful of games. That's it. And I'm going to show this to you in a short while as well, while I go through the interface again. So although it does come with the ability to connect a hard disk drive, but you can't play the optimized games through the hard disk drive. You have to move them to the internal storage. Speaking of which, the internal storage, although it's SSD, it is not as much as you would want. So it's got both plus and minus to the SSD aspect and to the storage aspect, but hey, you can live with it, and I'll tell you in a short bit as to why you can. So let's move over to the next section now. Okay, now one of the first things that I do want to show you, lovely folks, is the settings. So let's quickly get into the settings, and check out a few things. Now, as you can see, the TV details right on top said that it's running at 119 frames per second, and I've kept it at 1080p simply because of the fact that my television is not capable of doing 4K 120 Hz. It's only capable of doing 1080p at 120 Hz. So that's why I've got that set. So I'm showing this again. As you can see, it's in 1080p. The FreeSync is on, which means variable refresh rate is actually on, and it's doing 120 frames per second technically. So let's quickly go into the settings of the Xbox, and I'm going to show you this as well. Now, in the TV and display options, if you take a look at it, it clearly shows that it's running at 1080p at 120 Hz. Now, if I try to change this, all right, it's not going to take it, and it's going to say that this resolution is not supported with your current refresh rate. So we've got to set you to the highest refresh rate supported by your display with this resolution. So I'm just going to cancel this, and I'm going to show you another place, where it gives me all these details. So if I go into the 4K TV details, it does tell me that my TV is capable of doing 4K at 60 Hz, but it's not capable of doing 4K at 120 Hz. And here it clearly states that my television supports up to native 1080p. So it's not upscaled, it's native 1080p at 120 frames per second. And since my television does not have Dolby Vision, I can't do Dolby Vision gaming, but it does support HDR10 and HDR10 Plus. And if you want to know which television I'm using, by the way, I am using the Samsung AU9000, which does, it did claim that it had 1080p 120 Hz, and it does, you could say, come through when it comes to that claim. So this is what the settings looks like. So I just thought, I will take a look at that and show you that as well. Now, you can calibrate the HDR for games. You can do this on your system, which is Xbox, and you can also do it individually for each games, because each game comes with your brightness and your luminance settings, within them. So if I am playing Avengers, and I'll show you that as well in a bit, but let's take Gears as an example. All right, so let's just step back. Let's come into Gears. Now let's move over to, let's say, options, and let's go over to video. So if you take a look at this, it is telling me that I do have an option of HDR calibration. So you can adjust the contrast ratios, you can adjust the brightness, you can adjust the HDR brightness as well. So if I want to, let's say, move it to 2800, and here the brightness, I'm just going to move it a little more to 200. You can do this, and it varies from game to game. Some games may just have luminance and brightness options, and it does not have a contrast option going for you. The Avengers is an example of that. But in this case, Gears does come with the contrast option as well, so you can set it up. And there's the system setting as well, but we're not gonna deep dive into this quite a lot, but these settings are available. So should you want to tinker or play around with these settings, feel free to. All of this is at your disposal. And when it comes to the game itself, it says versus multiplayer frame rate. Here it's 60. All right, because it can't do more than 60 in multiplayer. But in terms of your single player campaign, and this is a good example. Now this is where I want you all to pay attention, because I'm just going to pull up the game settings panel of the Samsung AU9070. Now if you can clearly see right here, it says in terms of FPS, it says 119 FPS. So I am getting the 120 FPS that Xbox claims that it can deliver. It has come through on that. So it is 119 frames per second that I'm getting. It's clearly there. The HDR is off, so you can get that with the HDR off, not with the HDR on. And the FreeSync, the VRR, the variable refresh rate, that is, it says it's FreeSync because, hey, it uses FreeSync's technology. So as you can clearly see, the gaming is set to 1080p and 120 Hz. I'm just going to show you a little bit of the gameplay as well. And this is smooth. This is in fact super smooth. Wow. This is so enjoyable. I'm just going to move around a little bit and show you. Wow. This is super duper smooth, like I said. And it's absolutely mind blowing, I mean, wow. It's a little difficult for me to focus because I'm trying to, look into this camera, the other camera, the TV, and I don't have a camera crew, everything that I do on my own. I record these videos on my own. I edit these videos on my own, and I try to make sure that I deliver, you could say, decent quality content for all you lovely folks, and I do that all by myself. So don't go too harsh on me is what I'm trying to say, but I do appreciate all that you have done for me so far. Well, in terms of this game, coming back to the game, that is wow, this is smooth. Now, although this is running at 1080p, the TV itself, please note, also upscales your 1080p content to 4K, all right? And Samsung in this case is doing a very good job, more than respectable, you could say. It's in fact doing a fantastic job. I do not see any pixelation, and hey, I'm not a videophile exactly, and I'm not gonna go into pixel peeping, etc. and all that. To me, in the real world, this looks fabulous. In fact, it looks fantastic. Although it's running at 1080p, because of the television itself, this is looking amazing. Wow. So it depends on a good TV as well. Well, some of these TVs, you can have 1080p. Some TVs, now come with the native 4K 120 Hz with HDR. By the way, the Samsung Frame 2021 is a very good example of that. TCL had also launched its television very recently, and even those televisions actually had 120 Hz with 4K and with HDR, that is. So there are TVs which are coming up with this ability where you can do 4K 120 Hz. My TV unfortunately is not capable of that, but hey, look at this smoothness. And again, I am showing you the fact that this is running at 100, and you see, the frame rate is not dipping a lot. It's just minor dips, like 1 to 2 frames are dropping. But hey, the variable refresh rate, even that has got you covered, all right? So if you can see the screen, wow, it's amazing. It is so smooth. So smooth. And I can't believe that a device that comes for $300 US, and in India, it's slightly more expensive. It's 35,000 Indian rupees. But at 35,000 Indian rupees, this is giving me something that very expensive PCs are able to achieve. That is 120 FPS. It's incredible. Now, some of these games can also do ray tracing, by the way, which again is only available in very expensive PCs. But technology has come such a long way that, hey, I am getting this on a $300 device. It's absolutely incredible. This shows how far technology has really come. And for us gamers, we're living in such great times where we can actually enjoy all of this. It is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm really impressed. So this was your Gears of War, and this runs in your 1080p at 120 frames per second. Mind-blowing. Again, 120 frames per second. There you go. I'm just showing that, and I'm gonna try to move around. Hardly any frame drops, and even though it's dropping by 1 or 2 frames, like I said, the VRR, well, it's got you covered. So this is superb, really superb, guys. And Gears 5, by the way, great game. If you haven't already played this, I highly recommend that you do. Whoa, this is so good, guys. Okay, so now I'm gonna move over to the TV and display options again, but this time what I'm trying to do is I'm gonna set this up in 60 Hz, and I want 4K gaming now because I just want to show you, how this is gonna look in 4K as well. By the way, the Xbox Series S, it doesn't do native 4K, but it actually upscales. It's capable of 1440p, but it actually upscales to, you could say, 4K. So if your TV is 4K television, if it's a 4K television, then you can actually enjoy the upscaled 4K through the Xbox Series S. And I'm going to show you the Avengers game very quickly because the Avengers game, it has an option, by the way, of having a performance mode where you boost the FPS, or you can even have a quality mode where you're playing the game in 4K. So I'm just going to quickly show you that as well. And let's take a look at that aspect of the Avengers game. By the way, the thing that I love about the Xbox Series S are the load times. Load times? Question mark. What are load times? Because with the Series S, the load times are totally gone. I mean, it's, you could say it's as good as not being there. All right. So that's how good the Series S is. And that's what I love about the SSD. So the SSD is very capable. it totally eliminates those long load times, because I've played this game on my prior Xbox One as well, the original Xbox One that is, and man, the load times were really, really long. So to have load times like this, it is incredible. So I'm quickly going to go over to the campaign, and okay, I'm just going to move over to this particular campaign, the original campaign that is. I'm just going to move around a little bit, and I'm just going to show you, how this performs, because I mainly want to show you the settings. All right, so let's go into the settings, and let's take a look at what this game can do. So in the settings, you have the display settings, and if I go into display settings, you remember how I told you that you can actually change the HDR settings. So let's quickly take a look at that first. So here you have a white point and a luminance setting, but you don't have any contrast settings, not on this screen at least. So it varies from game to game. There is a high contrast mode separately though, as you can see, it's not within the game, but I would rather turn this off. I don't want to get into that, but I do want to show you the fact that this is running in your highest quality. So there is a quality mode, and then you have the highest performance mode. And the highest performance mode, it says that the title will run at a target frame rate of 60 FPS in a dynamically scaled 4K resolution, whereas the other one, it has the title will run at the target frame rate of 30 FPS in 4K resolution. Now please note that my television is a 60 Hz panel. So if I pull up the game screen, then as you can see, variable refresh rate is on, and it says that the FPS is 59. All right, so let's quickly come out of it. Let's move around a little and show you what this can do. So I'm just going to run sprint, in fact, just to show you how the variable refresh rate has an impact. And as you can see, the gameplay is smooth. It's really smooth. I almost sounded like a cow for some strange reason. Smooth. But yeah, it's really smooth, and hey, this is fantastic. I also want to show you something else. Now this is your setting on my television, that is, with the variable refresh rate on, but I'm going to show you how this looks in some other television mode. And I've said this in my previous videos as well, where I've turned the game mode off. So let's say I turn this off, all right, and right now I'm running in a dynamic picture mode, as you can see, and I don't know whether you can see it, but the television itself has something called MEMC, right? I mean, it is capable of removing judder from 24p content, and I believe 30p content as well. So as you can see, it is again smooth. And in fact, I find this smoother than the other version, with the game mode on with the variable refresh rate. It still does not have this smoothness. So although the game says that it runs at 4K 30 FPS, I am getting this feeling to my eyes, and the real world experience. Forget the numbers. I've not even put in any numbers here. And let's not, display any frame rates, etc. on the screen. I am looking at it and feeling like I'm actually playing this in 4K 60. And I'm recording this in 4K 60 as well, just so that you can also say whether it looks like that or not. So to my naked eyes, it looks like 4K 60. But it says that it's running at 4K 30, and I'm again gonna get back to the game mode. So I'm gonna show you how big of a difference actually it makes. I don't know if the camera will be able to capture that, but if I again switch over to the game mode, here it says game mode on. All right, and if I pull up that panel again, all right, not the game settings panel, but this panel here, you see it says VRR and HDR. So I'm getting both VRR and HDR. And it's not as smooth as the other version. The dynamic picture mode is better. I can say that for sure. I can see the difference. I am not sure if the camera will be able to pick it up. I surely can pick it up. I'm not blind, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's a fantastic experience, and I love this about the Xbox Series S. Now it is capable of doing 60 FPS. The television is doing 60 FPS, not the game itself. But the gaming experience, again, folks, it is mind-blowing. The graphics, if you think that this upscaled 4K looks bad, I'm sitting at a distance of almost 6 feet from the television, so that's the distance, and I cannot make out the difference. And in fact, if you're sitting at, let's say, 7 to 8 feet, you will not be able to make out the difference, you know, between this and what you get on the PS4 Pro. So if you run this on the PS4 Pro with the checkerboard 4K, and here also, you know, it says 4K, it's comparable. In fact, I think this looks better. And in terms of the movement, the motion, etc., I think this is comparatively better because of that architecture, the upgraded architecture, right? And plus the SSD definitely boosts the whole motion thing up. Also, with the next gen consoles, the Avengers and many other games, they did get an upgrade. So they got a next gen upgrade where some of the textures have been upgraded, some of the things like even the water. If you notice between the previous Avengers and this next gen update Avengers, there's a lot of difference in some of the textures. So this definitely looks better. In fact, it looks much better. And on the TV, there is no ghosting, there is no screen tear. In fact, the variable refresh has you covered there. So no ghosting, no screen tearing. And again, I'm just going to turn off the game mode and I'm going to show you this again in the dynamic picture mode. And whoa, this is smooth. This is so good. And all right, so that's what I love about the Xbox Series S, apart from its form factor, apart from the fact that the SSD is super fast. I do love the fact that it can run the games very well. No tearing, no ghosting, nothing. And load times, what's load times? You won't find any load times. I mean, hardly a few seconds. And if you're coming to this console from an original Xbox, it's gonna be a difference of, let's say, heaven and hell. It's gonna be a massive difference. You will definitely notice that. So yeah, this is such a great experience. I've now run so much. If I would have run so much in real life, I would have lost a lot of weight. But yeah, this is so good, guys. I just love it. And just want to show you a few other things as well. The thing that I don't like about the Xbox Series S is the fact that if I go into my you could say games, right? And if I go into my internal storage, all right, now you see there is 97.3 GB free of the internal storage. And how many games have I got on the internal storage right now? Six games. So I think I may be able to download just one more game, but some of these games, you know, I mean, they're huge. Like the update alone on Marvel's Avengers was around 82 GB. That was the update. And some of these games are massive. I think Gears was around 100 GB. Outriders was also, you know, somewhere close to 60 GB or so, 60 or 80 GB. So your storage is going to get over very quickly. So you will only be able to store a few games on the internal storage. But I do want to show you something, that the good thing about the Xbox Series S is the fact that you can also store a lot of games on an external storage. So it can be a hard disk drive, or it can be an SSD, and all these games are on the external storage. Now the point to note here, again, the thing that I don't like about the Xbox Series S is the fact that if it's any of the updated or upgraded games, I'm just gonna try and, you know, play No Man's Sky, or, you know, one of the games that has the update and that is stored on the external drive, just to see, you know, how it performs. So let's say I go over to Mortal Kombat, was already in. Let's go over to a game which is on the external drive. I'm sure No Man's Sky will ask me for an update, but let's try to click that. Well, nothing's happening. So getting your game ready. All right, this might take a minute or two. Now please note that this particular game, it's on the external drive. All right, so whenever you store your games on the external drive, you do get this message where it states that, hey, we're getting your game ready. This might take a minute or two. And if your game has not had an update, you could say, if you've not played that game in a long time, then yeah, it's going to update that game. And some of these updates for the next gen consoles are massive. 40 GB, 60 GB, Avengers, like I told you, 80 GB. It's insane. Some of these updates are really high. So yeah, it did not play. And yeah, you see, it's asking me for an upgrade. So hey, I am going to upgrade this, and I'm going to come back to this and tell you whether it could play that updated game or not. So we're going to quickly check that as well. And this is stored on my external storage. So we're going to verify whether an updated next gen updated game with that X and X logo, can that be stored on an external storage, and can you still play it? Will it not play? We're going to confirm that as well in a short bit. So I'm going to verify that. Come back right here. I'm going to pause this and manage game pause update. All right, pause update, and let's move over to, oh okay, I should not have paused the update because this is also a Series S and Series X and S game. So let this update. In fact, let's not try the other game, No Man's Sky. Let's try this one here, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now this is stored on my external storage, not on the internal storage, and there's just a little more to go. So let's quickly update this and find out. I'll come back and tell you whether this works or whether it doesn't work. All right, now we were talking about, whether we can play the games which have the X and the S logo, the next gen update as we call it, right? So I was just trying to confirm whether we can do that or not. And if you can see on the screen, okay, I'm just making sure that I'm recording on my other device as well. If you can see on the screen, it says newer games need faster storage. Now you can still install Shao Kahn on Babit HDD, which is my hard disk drive, but to play it, you will need to move the game to the console's internal storage or a storage expansion card. And that expansion card that you get from Xbox, it costs as much as the Xbox Series S itself. So it's that expensive. It's pointless. So if you want to actually play one of these next gen updated games, you will have to do the whole thing of moving your games from your hard disk drive over to the internal storage. So that is something that you will have to do. And I'm just gonna say that, okay, I'm gonna move this to the internal storage, and I'm gonna move the other game as well. But what I wanted to show you in this section is the games that I have on my hard disk drive, right? Now these are the games that are on my hard disk drive. Now if you can see the screen, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, it has the X and the S logo, meaning that it is a next gen updated game. So let me click on this and see whether this actually works or not. So if it works, well and good. Well, this seems to be working. Wow, so this is working, and it's on my external hard disk drive, and it did have that logo X and S. So I think it needs some checking, some further checking, which I can cover in my future videos. I know this video has already become too long, so I will not be able to cover this in this video. Now please note, I've just got the Xbox Series S a few days back. I'm uncovering a few things myself. I'm getting to learn the system. And the one thing that I didn't like about the storage was the fact that next gen updated games had to be brought in onto the internal storage, and only then you'll be able to play it. Now can I play this? I'm not sure. Nothing's happening, and this is stored on my external storage, so I'm not sure if you can actually really play this game. Let's see, something's happening now. The load times, by the way, were quite long. It could be because of the fact that it's stored on the external storage. That could perhaps be the reason. That's the only thing that I can actually think of. If you guys think that that's not the case, then do let me know in the comment section as well, because I'm not sure. I'm new to this. I'm new to this console, so I'm trying it out myself, and I'm giving my real world user experience. So this game came on, all right. So this is playable. It's a next gen updated game, stored on an external storage. But now I'm trying to play it via the external storage, and it says 120 FPS support not detected. Ori is set to run in 4K at 60 FPS. You can always use display options to toggle between super sample 6K 60 FPS and 4K. Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's start the game, and I have played a little, so I'm just gonna go along with that. All right, so this plays. This is 4K, by the way, and this is playing. This is playing, guys. It's stored on my external storage, and wow, this is actually playing. I'm happy about this. So I think it depends on game to game. You know, Mortal Kombat said that you could not, but Ori and the Will of the Wisps, by the way, this is running at 4K 60 FPS if I'm not wrong. Wow, this game is beautiful, folks. It is gorgeous. I mean, the backgrounds, they are simply breathtaking. And although this is a, you could say, a platformer, like a 2.5D, you could say, not exactly a 2D and not exactly a 3D, but 2.5D platformer, but this looks so good. Wow, this is amazing. And all of this is now through my external storage. I've already shown you that. And to reconfirm that, I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to show you the fact that this is stored on my external storage, not on my internal one. So Ori and the Will of the Wisps, oops. External storage. All right, so that plays. I guess it varies from game to game, and that could be the reason. But hey, I'll try to find out more about, you know, why Mortal Kombat did not play. I'll try to, you know, play some other games as well with the X and the S update, and I'll try to, you know, move it to my external storage and try to see, you know, whether that works or not, just to confirm and verify that. Do let me know, you know, I mean, if you've had the similar experience where, you know, some games have worked, some games have not worked, and I'll be interested to find out. After all, you know, we are all a happy community and we share information with each other, and I'll be looking forward to that. So yeah, it's quite good. Now, another thing that I do want to talk about, which I missed out in my previous video, is the fact that on your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you even have EA Play. So EA Play has over 100 games again, I believe, or maybe some 40 games or something, not 100. It doesn't look like 100, but hey, it's still a lot of games. You've got games like Titanfall 2, you've got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, with that update, the X and the S update. So many games, you know, I mean, you'd literally be spoiled for choice. And the Game Pass Ultimate, man, the other day I didn't show you this. I didn't show you the whole list in my previous video. There are close to 400 games, you know, which are available on your Game Pass Ultimate, and it's simply incredible. I know a few of you have spoken about RDR2. You do want me to comment on that, so I'll be making a video very shortly about RDR2 as well, and I'll be talking about, you know, the performance on the Series S, and we're gonna see, you know, how it plays and works on the Series S. So, well, that's about it for this video, I think. So I'm just gonna stop my video here, and yeah, I'm gonna do my outro now. That brings me to the end of the video, folks. Well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video. I really appreciate your kindness, your love, your support, and if you think I've missed out on anything, then please feel free to reach out to me via the comment section. I in fact look forward to your comments after I post each and every video of mine. So please keep them coming. And also, if you haven't already hit the like and subscribe button, then what are you waiting for? Please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It definitely helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it also encourages me to make more such videos for all you lovely folks. So that's a wrap for this one, folks. Thank you so much for watching again. This is me signing off, and until we meet again in the next video, take care, stay safe, and may God bless you all.